I didn't feel rich when the lawyer told me the number. $900,000 sounds like a headline, something designed to provoke envy or suspicion. But all I could think about was my grandparents' kitchen table, the scratches in the wood, the uneven chair leg my grandfather never bothered fixing, the way my grandmother insisted on using chipped plates, because they were still perfectly good. The estate wasn't money to me. It was continuity, a house that had absorbed decades of quiet routines. A place where nothing dramatic ever happened, which was exactly why it mattered. The lawyer spoke gently, almost clinically. Assets, property valuation, tax implications. I nodded at appropriate intervals, feeling less like an heir and more like someone being assigned a complex administrative task. Most people, he said, sliding a document toward me, find it useful to structure these things. Useful. That was the word that stayed with me. Not clever, not protective. Just useful. I didn't tell anyone about the trust at first because there was nothing to tell. It felt procedural, like updating insurance or renewing a passport, a container for something that needed stability. A way to ensure the house wouldn't become a future problem. At the time, there was no conflict, only small, forgettable moments. My brother asking, half joking, "So, what are you going to do with your fortune?" My mother laughing in that careful way people do when they're trying to sound casual. "Don't forget your family when you're living the high life." They were comments you could easily ignore. And I did. Life went on in its familiar, slightly awkward rhythm. Family dinners where conversation drifted politely around anything remotely sensitive. Birthdays marked by the same recycled stories, an undercurrent of tension so normalized it barely registered as tension anymore. Nothing exploded. Which is why their visit last week felt so strange. They didn't arrive like people coming for coffee. There was an energy to it, brisk, almost celebratory. My brother walked in first, wearing a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. My mother followed, her expression bright but tight around the edges. "We've got good news," he said. Good news. Even now the phrasing fascinates me. Mom stood beside him, nodding like a supportive witness. "We had the house signed into my name," he continued. "You're out by Friday." No anger, no hesitation. Just certainty. For a moment, I genuinely thought I had misheard him. The sentence didn't land as a threat, it landed as nonsense. "What?" I asked, not dramatically, just confused. Mom stepped in quickly, voice smooth, rehearsed. "It just makes more sense this way. You don't really need all that space. And your brother has a family to think about." He finished. They spoke like the decision had already matured into reality, like I was being informed of a schedule change rather than displaced from my own home. I remember noticing absurd details. The way my brother avoided looking directly at me. The faint smell of my mother's perfume. How calm my own voice sounded when I said, "You really think I'd let that happen?" They interpreted it as denial, or bluffing. The conversation didn't escalate because there was nowhere for it to go. They had constructed a version of events that didn't require my participation. After they left, the house felt different. Not hostile, just distant, as if something invisible had shifted its position. I didn't call anyone, didn't argue, didn't panic, there was nothing to negotiate. 2 days later, they came back with movers. That was the moment everything stopped feeling abstract. A truck idling at the curb. Men unloading dollies. My brother walking up the path with the relaxed posture of someone executing a plan already approved by the universe. And then they froze. Not because of me. Because of the man standing on the porch. Dark coat, leather folder. Neutral expression honed by years of professional detachment. My attorney, he didn't speak immediately. He didn't need to. The folder alone seemed to alter the air. My brother's grin dissolved first, replaced by something between confusion and irritation. Mom's face went pale in a way that had nothing theatrical about it. It was the look of someone watching their assumptions collapse in real time. "There seems to be some misunderstanding," the attorney said calmly, no raised voice. No drama. Just precision. He opened the folder with deliberate slowness, producing documents that were, technically speaking, unremarkable. Paper, ink, signatures, dates. But authority has a physical presence when it's undeniable. You can see it. Feel it. My brother tried to speak, words tangling into defensiveness. Mom stared at the papers as if they might rearrange themselves into something more convenient. I didn't say much. There was nothing useful to add. What struck me most wasn't their shock. It was the silence. A heavy, disorienting quiet filled with the sound of a plan disintegrating. Eventually, the movers retreated to their truck, lingering awkwardly before driving away. My brother avoided my eyes entirely this time. My mother looked older somehow, as though certainty had been quietly extracted from her posture. No one apologized. No one argued. They just left. The house returned to stillness, but not to normalcy. Victory is a strange word for what followed. I still own the house. The trust still exists. The documents remain exactly as they were before anyone tried to rewrite reality. But something less tangible fractured beyond repair. Family dinners have become rare. Conversations thinner. Politeness heavier, more deliberate. Sometimes I walk past the kitchen table and think about my grandparents, about chipped plates and uneven chair legs, and the quiet stability they built without ever imagining it would become contested terrain. The house is secure. Everything else feels provisional, not broken, just permanently altered.